Let's have a look at the incident that's going to create all the headlines over the next 48 to 72 hours over in the late game in the West. It's Alex Pearce, it's Darcy Byrne-Jones, it's a sickening concussion and it's likely a 3-week suspension. So let's have a look at what the MRO's probably going to notice about this incident. So first, he's going to ask whether the duty of care was breached, whether Alex Pearce could foreseeably understand what was going to happen by what he did, and whether Alex Pearce had a genuine play on the ball there. So let's roll the vision again and have a look at this in sort of the real time of it. Alex Pearce makes eye contact with Darcy Byrne-Jones before he gets him. He doesn't really at any stage outstretch his arms to go to mark the ball, and he does, it looks like he jumps off the ground probably simultaneously as he makes eye contact, but the fact that he leaves the ground is not good, and I think Justin Longmuir's reaction there gives it away that he could be set for a bit of a holiday. We want to have a look at some precedent that's been set in the last couple of years because, again, it's not certain, but it's probably likely that he will get the 3. It'll be 3 or 0. So this is Tom Lynch in 2023. It's similar in that he was going towards the marking contest. He realises he doesn't have a play on the ball last second and he goes to break for contact. He got 3 weeks, eventually got off at the tribunal. This is Peter Wright last year. Similar thing. Going for the ball, realises that he's not going to get the mark, sort of braces for contact and concusses Harry Cunningham there. He got 4. So that's probably a bit more accentuated in terms of the brace for contact from Peter Wright there. But, 4 weeks, at the end of the day, concussion's a concussion. I mean, what's your take on it?
I think ultimately this comes down to the change that we're seeing, and this comes down to the duty of care that's placed on the field. And I know we go back and look at other incidents, not the 2 that we've just shown, but prior to that in football, and it's a genuine football accident. Well, that's not really an excuse anymore. There's been a big stress on the duty of care that you need to place for your opponent. I don't think Alex Pearce really fulfilled that duty of care by running through and making contact to Darcy Byrne-Jones. I understand people will say it is a football incident. It is a player's coming back with the flight. You think you have a play on the ball, but we're past that point now, and this should be a 3-week suspension looking at the MRO grading. I don't think it's going to be nothing from the outcome of it. So I think we accept that that's the fact of football now. If you make contact like that with a player from the opposition and they're concussed, regardless of what you were doing or your play on the footy, if you run through the ball and make contact, you're going to miss games of football.
Massive call for the MRO, 3 or 0. Let's have a look at Luke Jackson's game. He was exceptional once again. You're massive on him being the number 1 ruck, and he's cementing himself in that spot.
Well, he is. He's played 2 weeks in a row now as the number 1 ruck, obviously with Sean Darcy out with injury, but said it last week, I'll say it again this week. It's not just his ability to do this, to tap it down. It's his ability to do that. A second effort in and around the contest, get the clearance himself, win the contested possession. Only one player from Fremantle had more contested possessions than Luke Jackson. Kicks a goal, has 8 score involvements. I don't know what else you need to see from a Fremantle perspective. This guy is your number 1 ruck. It doesn't matter when Sean Darcy comes back into this team. You need to persist with him. He is the number 1 ruck in Fremantle and could be the number 1 ruck in the competition if you persist with him for long enough.
On the flip side, Port Adelaide, this defeat caps off an abysmal month.
It has been. It's been a very poor month for the Port Adelaide Football Club. Some heavy losses. They've lost 4 on the trot now, and it's a bit of a position of where to for Port Adelaide. They've said early in the year that they're going with this succession plan, and for me, it just feels like the next 10 weeks, 12 weeks of the season are a little bit of a waste of time, really, with Ken Inkley. They're really pushing it to make finals now. Where do they go? What's the option? Obviously, they know Josh Carr is the incoming coach at the end of this year. Why are they persisting for the next 10 to 12 weeks when Josh Carr could essentially have that time to get his hands on the job, to get his feet under the table and get set and launch into 2026?
So if you're running Port Adelaide, you'd pull the trigger at this point?
Look, I just think the way that they've set up the year has been really poor. It's done nothing, but I know they tried to get ahead of the narrative and make the call early, but just the succession plan very rarely works. When it does work, but even so, there's all these questions around, okay, where to from here? And for me, I just don't see how they get out of this season with gaining a whole lot if Josh Carr doesn't have his hands on the list.